During the years when Pharaoh Akhenaten was busy trying to change the Egyptian religion, two men helped him to run his government. Their names were Ai and Horemheb. Akhenaten told them, "Ai, you shall operate the parts of the government for which I no longer have time. Horemheb, I am placing you in charge of the Egyptian army." Ai and Horemheb did not believe that there was only one God, but they did not reveal this to Akhenaten. They wanted the power he offered to share with them. After he died, they kept their jobs under a new pharaoh, about whom we do not know a great deal, in part because he died less than 2 years later. Then the Egyptians found themselves under the command of a new pharaoh who was destined to become the most famous pharaoh of them all. But strangely enough, not for what he did when he lived, but for what happened after he died. His name was Tutankhamun. And although the records of the time don't indicate it one way or another, he was almost certainly Akhenaten's son. We do know that he was only 9 years old when he became pharaoh, so Ai and Horemheb ran Egypt for him. They told the boy, "The people are confused about the changes Akhenaten attempted. You must calm your people, Pharaoh, by returning to the old ways and by supporting the old religion and its temples." The boy Pharaoh agreed. "I will take a royal name that includes the name of the old sun god, Amun. I shall be Pharaoh Tutankhamun." Tutankhamun ruled for only about 8 years, dying when he was about 17 years old. Some archaeologists think he died as the result of a chariot accident. Others think he may never have been healthy to begin with. At any rate, his advisor, Ai, became the next pharaoh, and he in turn was followed onto the throne by Horemheb. Because Tutankhamun ruled for such a short time and had limited control over the actual operation of things, we have less information about his life than about the lives of many other pharaohs. We do know that after his death, he was not laid to rest in a pyramid, for pharaohs had long since stopped building those. By this time, their mummies were buried in the hillsides of a valley, appropriately called the Valley of the Kings. In this valley, his exact burial location forgotten by the world, Pharaoh Tutankhamun would rest for nearly 33 centuries, surrounded by the treasures he had intended for his afterlife. For as you may know, ancient Egyptians buried people's possessions with them when they died, because they thought that that person could bring these things with them to use in another life that began after this one ended. When pharaohs were buried, their tombs were practically bursting with treasures. Which brings us to a curious question. If the Egyptians kept detailed records of nearly everything, how could they have lost track of something as vital as the burial site of one of their pharaohs? Well, here's the answer. In the ancient times, there were tomb robbers who wanted to break into the burial sites of the pharaohs in order to steal those treasures left there for the afterlife. The priests in charge of the tombs decided, "We must move the mummies and as much of the treasure as we can. We'll find new hiding places where the tomb robbers will not disturb the pharaoh's resting places." But the tomb robbers bribed the workers who did the digging to reveal the new locations, or they spied from hiding places as the priests moved the pharaoh's mummies. Over and over, the priests had to move the mummies and their treasures until, whenever they found a particularly good hiding place, the priests might move into it the mummies and treasures of more than one pharaoh, just to keep them all safe. Finally, after all those moves, the locations of some of the hiding places were lost. Now let us skip ahead thousands of years. Twice in the late 1800s, which we think of as long ago, but which in the long history of Egypt is like the blink of an eye, modern scientists found hiding places containing pharaohs' mummies and a good deal of treasure. But the scientists could tell that there should have been even more treasure. What they found clearly came from the tombs of more than one pharaoh, since different pharaohs' names appeared on different items. No one found the tomb of just one pharaoh that had been undisturbed. Then, in the early 1900s, there came a thrilling discovery. The man who made it was a British archaeologist named Howard Carter. As a boy, Howard Carter became fascinated with ancient Egypt, and by the time he was a young man, he was an expert working in the Valley of Kings for a rich British nobleman, Lord Carnarvon, who shared Carter's love of history. Lord Carnarvon told Carter, "I have powerful friends in the Egyptian government who will allow you to dig in the Valley of the Kings on my behalf." For more titles from Jim Weiss and Well-Trained Mind Press, please visit us at jimweiss.com or welltrainedmind.com. Thank you for listening.